What if the most important battles in your life last only 5 seconds? Not 5 years, not 5 months, just 5 seconds. 5 seconds between a harsh word and your response. 5 seconds between a mistake and irritation. 5 seconds between a spark and a flame bursting into fire. Many people think they lose their peace because of what others say or do. But the truth is, what shapes your day and gradually shapes who you become lies in the space before you react. Today, I want to tell you a story about that space. Michel was a capable young man. In the village, he was known as someone quick in his work, decisive, and always wanting everything to reach perfection. Anyone looking at him would think he would have a smooth life. But precisely because of that, he always demanded that everything unfold perfectly in his eyes, and he became very upset by things that did not go his way. One morning, he had prepared carefully for an important contract. When the client arrived, they changed their requirements at the last minute. Michel tried to stay calm, but for the rest of the meeting, he spoke in a tight voice. When the client left, he was still irritated, feeling as though he had been offended. A few days later, a close friend forgot an appointment with him. It was only an unintentional lapse, but Michel felt disregarded. That entire evening, he kept thinking about why people could not be as serious as he was. One day, he spent many hours fixing a small detail at work. When he finished, a very minor mistake appeared. Almost no one would notice. But Michel could not ignore it. He redid the entire thing, working while blaming himself and those around him. These events were quite ordinary. But in Michel's heart, each small thing became a large wave. Gradually, he began to feel tired, not because there was more work, but because his mind rarely rested. When night fell, instead of feeling relieved after a long day, he felt weighed down. Old conversations, unfinished imperfections, things that should have been different, kept returning to his mind. The sunset was still as beautiful as ever, but Michel no longer saw the gentle orange glow on the rooftops. He often hurried past those moments, carrying with him a feeling of irritation he could hardly name. One evening, after a day when everything seemed not to go his way, Michel went to see Elias, an old man in the village. He lived simply, spoke little, but his eyes were always calm. Michel sat down in front of him and sighed. "I don't understand why life is always against me," he said. "Everything keeps drifting away from the plan. I feel like I am fighting every single day." Elias listened, then slowly replied, "Starting tomorrow, whenever you feel irritated because of something that does not go your way, bend down and pick up a stone. Put it into a bag and carry it on your shoulder. If something troubles you greatly, choose a large stone. If it only bothers you slightly, choose a small one." He paused for a moment. "1 month from now, bring that bag here. I want to see how difficult life has been for you." Michel did not fully understand, but he nodded. The next morning, everything was the same. On his way to work, a car blocked the road, forcing him to stop longer than expected. Michel stepped down, picked up a medium-sized stone, and put it into the bag. Later that day, he discovered that a worker had made a slight measurement error in a small detail. He felt irritation rising, and this time, he chose a heavier stone. In the afternoon, when he received a letter with several frank comments, he remained silent for a long time. In the end, he bent down and picked up another stone. In the days that followed, the bag gradually filled. There were days when Michel thought he would stop picking them up. But then a tactless remark, a sudden change of plan, or simply a day when things moved more slowly than expected. He bent down again. At first, the weight was not significant, but by the second week, his shoulder began to ache. By the third week, his steps were no longer as brisk as before. He smiled less, spoke less. The bag was always there, quietly pulling him down. By the final week, Michel woke up each morning already feeling tired. The work he once loved became an obligation. He no longer had the patience to listen to others explain. He no longer felt interested in refining small details as before. 1 month passed slowly. The appointed day arrived. Michel carried the heavy bag on his shoulder to see Elias. His back was noticeably bent. Elias looked at the bag and gently asked, "Is it very heavy?" Michel nodded. "I didn't think it would be this heavy." "Then put it down." Michel removed the bag from his shoulder. When it touched the ground, he could hardly believe the feeling in his body. His shoulders felt lighter, his back straightened naturally. He took a deeper breath than usual, as if he had forgotten how to breathe like that for an entire month. The two stood silently for a while. Elias asked, "During the past month, did your life change?" Michel thought. "No," he answered slowly. "Everything was the same." Elias nodded. "Life cannot be changed. The rain comes when it wants. People still make mistakes. Plans sometimes drift off course. That does not belong to you." He looked at Michel for a long time. "But each time you bent down to pick up a stone, you decided to carry it with you. It was not the event that made you heavy. It was your choice to hold on to it." Michel suddenly understood something he had never considered before. He had always believed that if everything went according to his will, he would be at peace. He did not realize that such peace does not depend on circumstances, but on whether he continues to bend down and pick up more stones. The bag still lay on the ground. It was truly heavy. But only when it was no longer on his shoulder did Michel understand what real lightness felt like. My dear friend, life will never be completely according to your will. It always moves in its own way. But what determines each person's journey is not how many unwelcome things happen, but how many of them they choose to carry. And sometimes, freedom begins with something very small, not bending down to pick up another stone. If this story made you pause and reflect, press subscribe so we can continue walking together, step by step, steadily, on the journey of growing each day.